says rotate your phone again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to let it run now, like this. And I'm going to press live. See if I rotate it like that. Just don't understand the algorithm sometimes on these things. You know, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And it's like you've got a flipping mind of your own, haven't you? What is going on? Anyway, hi Elaine, hi there. Very sorry to have kept you. And I apologise that I am the wrong way round for Facebook and for YouTube today. We did try, and we will try and crack it. If there are any techie people out there that understand why sometimes when you do a Facebook Live, it doesn't want to do it the right way around that you have set up, please let me know. Anyway, as I was saying to our lovely friends on Instagram, I'm going to be looking at a few unusual things today. So there have been lots of things that are out there, and I'm researching them with my team for the magazine. So we're currently writing the, gosh, what will it be? July, August issue of the magazine. I mean, where's the time going? Can't believe it. Anyway, it's really, really good. We've got some cracking features. Do make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget, the magazine is not available in the shops anymore. We came out of retail last year with the first lockdown. So we're only to subscription people. So it's very special, it's very exclusive, but anybody can come in, so please do. And in fact, my team put a message out, I think it was on Friday actually, to say that they've got some really special mystery gifts for new subscribers. So if you are a new subscriber, or maybe you'd like to give a gift subscription, the gifts are great. I'm not allowed to tell you what they are, but they are really good. Each one is worth a minimum of £20. So please go and take a look, because they've only got a handful left. But if you would like to subscribe, it's certainly a very, very good time to do it. So we are doing all sorts of things. Let me just gather these bits and pieces in front of me, because we've been doing lots of research into all kinds of unusual things. And I think over the last, year or so, you know that I've been talking about things like magnesium and iodine and vitamin D and, you know, all these regular nutrients that can just be so incredibly helpful. And I guess as part of that, I've become aware that there are so many other things out there as well. And there's this whole breed of new nutritional scientists who are beginning to unpick all the kinds of things that can be helpful. A lot of them natural ingredients, a lot of things naturally found in food. And, you know me, I like to be evidence-based, so it's got to have the science to back it up, and it's got to have clinical studies and, you know, preferably independent ones. So I am teaming up today with a nutritional scientist, Dr. Federica Amati, who has been looking at this range. This is called Indie. And I've had some of these to try, and they've got some really interesting ingredients in them. So I thought really what would be quite fun would be to look at some of these new ingredients. And actually this range was developed by a girl that I used to work with years and years ago, who contacted me, and she was saying this is what she's now doing. So really interesting. So another female founder. So I thought, yeah, join. I'll try. I'll give it a go. We'll see, and let's see what the science is behind it. See whether it stands up. So let's see whether we've got Indie Supplements. Here we go. So let us, come on, stop messing about. Yes, send a request. For some reason I have to request you now. So I hope, Federica. Hi.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. We had a few technical issues today, but anyway, we're all here. We're all happy and connected. Yes, so whereabouts are you?
So I'm in London. I'm in North London in our home right now. And so if you hear children in the background, it is half term.
It is half term. My goodness, how old are yours?
My youngest is 1 on Sunday, and my eldest is 3.5.
Oh my goodness!
So,
little ones.
Hard to keep busy.
yeah, my goodness, and working as well, because you've got such an interesting background, because you're a clinical researcher, aren't you, in nutrition and nutritional science, and you're also a dietitian, and you've worked, you know, with kind of public health bodies as well.
So I'm a nutritionist as opposed to a dietitian, so I'm more centered around research and improving health. Dietitians are more trained to work with people who have clinical issues such as, you know, gestational diabetes or issues that need often medication as well. So there's a bit of a distinction there, but my research is in clinical medicine. So yes, I still do that. I got my PhD at Imperial College, and I now split my time between active research and clinical work with individuals and with companies like Indie, reviewing formulas, and just, as you said, making sure the evidence base is really strong and making
fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, I envy your career path, actually, because that's something that I'm so interested in. And your degree was in pharmacology, is that right?
My first degree was...
Your first degree, and that's just showing off, isn't it? How many degrees have you got?
I'm collecting them. I'm not allowed to do any more for a little while. I really love learning. It's honestly, I'm one of those people that loved school, loved university, kept going back for more.
Brilliant. Good for you.
So yeah, that was my first, and I absolutely loved pharmacology and endocrine pharmacology. So looking at hormones was something that I found most interesting, and that kind of led me to continue, I think. But I was considering medicine, but I decided to go for a public health approach. So looking at population health and, you know, what changes can be made from a slightly higher standpoint as opposed to just one disease at a time. And, you know, it's got its merits, and sometimes, you know, it's sometimes I think, oh, I wonder if I would have enjoyed being a doctor, but I think, you know, it's just a different approach, and I really enjoy what I do now. I'm very lucky. Yeah.
There seems to be so much happening in the nutrition space.
Yes,
and particularly with these new, well, I say new ingredients, but some of them are, you know, been used for thousands of years, but it's just they seem new because modern medicine and scientific protocols are kind of proving a lot of what has been anecdotal, hasn't it, up until now?
Yes, I think what's really exciting is that finally there's so much interest in nutrition now, and we've realised just the impact that what we eat has on everyday life, but on our long-term health as well, that finally there's money to be invested in doing proper clinical trials with food, which for a long time wasn't the case. So for a long time we relied on large epidemiological studies which showed us associations which are really helpful, but they didn't show us, they couldn't really confirm whether the associations were causal, if it was something that we could definitely say was impacting, you know, the outcome, or whether it was just an association. So that has really pushed nutrition and nutrition research into a new sphere, and so that now we have evidence surrounding specific ingredients and specific foods much more than we ever did. So it's a really exciting time to be in this field and in public health as well. So it's really, I'm very lucky.
Well, you know, I think you know, a couple of points there. You know, obviously certainly during, you know, the pandemic, looking at the role of things like vitamin D and how protective that is and how important it is within our immune system. And you know, people with the lowest levels of vitamin D are the ones who are most likely to end up with severe complications and to end up in intensive care. So, you know, having those public health messages, you know, which, you know, I think should actually be made, you know, even stronger, that we really need to be making sure that we have plenty of vitamin D, you know, more than I think is in our normal everyday food.
Absolutely, and in this weather, I mean, it's quite easy to get outside and get our arms out and just...
but then you don't want the age spots either. You know, I'm kind of balancing. I was out running this morning.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I covered my face in, like, you know, factor 50 and here and my hands as well, and you know, my lower arms, because I'm beginning to get little kind of brown spots on them. Thinking, you know, and then of course there's always that risk, isn't there? I remember having this debate actually because I'm an ambassador for the Royal Osteoporosis Society. And they said that every summer they have this big dialogue with the cancer charities, because the cancer charities are saying, you know, skin cancer, melanoma, be really careful, don't go in the sun, avoid the sun. And their message is, we need vitamin D for bone health, you need to go out and enjoy a bit of sun and synthesize it. So it's always that balance, isn't there? So I think actually if you can have your D3 in a supplement, you're probably safer.
Exactly as you said. So there's a study that came out recently from the Zoe data for COVID, which is one of the big studies that showed that vitamin D supplementation, probiotic supplementation, was protective against not only COVID disease but actually catching it, which is really big. You know, big. It was an association study; it wasn't causal, but it was very interesting. And what was interesting in that study is that any vitamin D supplementation, whether D2 or D3, was helpful. So that led us to think, you know, that actually, if you have a healthy immune system and you're functioning well, essentially, you can easily transfer the D2 to a D3 as you need it.
So what's the difference then? Can you explain the difference between D2 and D3?
Yeah. So D2 is a precursor to D3. So in our bodies, in our skin especially, we have the right cells that allow D2 to be converted to D3. And the D3 is the active form of vitamin D, which we need for bone health, for gut health, for a lot of things. So it is often, we often think D3 supplementation is more effective because it's the active forms that go straight in. But recent sort of epidemiological studies have shown that if you have D2 available and you're in good health, then you can make it into a D3 as and when you need it. Right. So that's the kind of difference. But normally D3 is preferable, especially in at-risk populations, right? Yeah. So, but as you said as well, sun exposure is a fine balance. So it's always good to have some D2 or D3 supplemented in your diet and in a supplement. If you're concerned, if you are covering up, if you are wearing factor 50 because your skin is fair, it's much better to cover up and ensure that you're safe from the sun's rays than it is to risk it and get sunburn. So it's always personalised. I always think it's a good idea to know yourself and know what you can do.
It is personalised. We have been looking at a company called LifeCode GX that do this nutritional genetic testing. And actually on the subject of vitamin D, my daughter was found to be blocking. She had genetic SNPs that were blocking the transportation and the absorption of vitamin D. And, she's talked about this with me on here, so I'm not kind of betraying any confidence, but she was really suffering with anxiety and all sorts of issues, not helped obviously by lockdown and all of that as a student. And since taking very high levels, well, obviously what we would normally consider to be very high levels, she's been completely transformed. It's just extraordinary. She's taking around 12 to 15,000 international units a day, but she's doing that just to get a small amount through because she's not absorbing it or transporting it well.
Interesting, yeah.
And sorry, go on.
No, finish, please.
So, and there was a study, I looked at a website called Vitamin D for All, which has, I think, signatories of over 40, high-level professors and medics working in public health and nutrition and mainstream medicine. And they were really trying to get the message out how important vitamin D is, and they put how much they take every day. And some of these professors are taking 20,000 international units a day.
Yes, I think it's really contentious. Vitamin D research is actually weirdly contentious in a way. And I think as a general rule, unless you know that you have an issue absorbing vitamin D or unless you know that you're at higher risk, for example, people with lots of body fat who are obese, they will have low vitamin D status purely because vitamin D likes to live in fat cells. So if you have a lot of fat cells, it will migrate into there and it won't do what it needs to do.
So the more overweight you are, the more fat you have, the more you trap the vitamin D, so you can't then use it for your immune system.
Exactly. It's different,
Is that why then people who are above a healthy weight are more at risk with complications with COVID, do you think? Do you think it's the vitamin D connection?
It's definitely one of the factors. It's multifactorial, so that there's so many things with COVID which impact blood clotting, they impact respiration. There's a lot going on. It's mostly to do with the inflammatory response and this cytokine storm that happens with COVID, which is what causes most of the deaths. So it's not just the vitamin D status, but certainly being overweight does mean that you do have less circulating vitamin D. And for that reason, supplementing in the diet is actually a good idea for the majority of the population. I think the vitamin D, those who kind of disagree with vitamin D being so strongly pushed is because, say, that those who are healthy and have a very varied diet and do have some out time space will have adequate levels without supplementation. But we all know that that's not the majority of us anymore.
No.
The majority of us don't have a good diet that is adequate in all the nutrients. A lot of us don't get enough time outside. We're all on our computers working indoors. So, and then some of us can't spend time in the sun. So it's actually
and food is so processed
that.
too, isn't it? So overly processed. I was also reading about how so many of us are low in zinc and how incredibly important that is, not only for helping to protect with COVID, but also with allergies and the immune response.
Fertility, really big in fertility, zinc.
Fertility, gosh.
Yes, yeah, especially for men. There's a lot of things that are emerging, thanks to data that we have, survey data from the population and also from clinical reports that show that actually our diets and our lifestyles, whilst say maybe a third of us do quite well, we actively include all of the foods and the nutrients and the water and the sleep and all the things that we do every day that help us be healthy but often can't be achieved all at once. And there's a huge number of us that struggle, and luckily I think people are becoming more aware, and there are products such as Indie that are out there which can help support us to enhance our diets.
This was why I was so interesting, because obviously I get sent so much stuff all the time, and I really do my research and make sure that I have evidence and clinical papers and independent studies before I start talking about things, and I have learned a reasonable amount about nutrition and basic nutrients, but there are certain things that I take, like vitamin D, like magnesium, like certain B vitamins, for example. But there are all these other things that are kind of circulating around, which I would love to know more about. So these are just so interesting. And obviously, because it was somebody I used to work with a long time ago who's created these, I thought, I'll have a look at that. And I thought the packaging was rather lovely. But these seem to be powders that you make into a drink. So I actually had some of this morning. It was very nice. It was like a kind of chocolatey berry thing. And this has a Haskapa Berry in it. Yes. Which I've been talking about, in fact, with another brand. So Haskapa Berry, incredibly high in antioxidants and really interesting, a lovely berry taste as well. Do you think that Haskapa Berry lives up to its hype?
Yes, listen, berries are one of the most researched things, and the research around Haskapa berries, blueberries, acai berries is actually very strong. So the anthocyanin levels in those berries, which is what makes them those lovely deep purple colours and blues, anthocyanin is so powerful as an anti-inflammatory, as an antioxidant. It's been trialled in studies looking at vascular health, so how it can improve blood pressure, how it can reduce the risk of inflammation in the coronary arteries, and all of the studies have been positive. So there isn't even any evidence to say, it might not be significant. Every time it's been significant.
Really?
And so
Haskapa Berry is definitely a big tick.
It's a big tick, but and Haskapa berries are difficult to get in the UK, which is why Indie's done a really good job. And the way that they freeze dry and use them in the powders actually means they retain most of their nutrients, which is fabulous. Like what I love about Indie is that they actually take the whole plant and make it into a powder, and they've selected the ways that work best to retain nutrients, right? So as a nutritionist, I will always try and recommend whole foods, how to get to that ideal nutritional status with whole foods. And when Indie approached me, I was like, well, this is different. This is actually really exciting. And so whereas I would always say, try and have a punnet of blueberries a day, especially now it's berry season. Get some blueberries, eat them. Organic is best, wild is the best. Wild frozen blueberries are actually really easy to get for the winter months.
Oh, nice. Good to know. But they're expensive, aren't they? I mean, a punnet of blueberries every day is quite a lot.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. And they are expensive. I always think as food as an investment, though. So for me, if you're going to invest in something, nutrition is probably the one that will definitely give you a return of investment, right? So it's a good investment. But having a supplement like Indie, which has the Haskapa berry in it and the blueberry and the acai, means that you can tick that box.
So let's talk about this. So basically, we do have. I mean, my audience here knows that I do have affiliate codes, discount codes. Liz loves. So, and we do have a 20% one. It's called Indie, is the brand, and you can find it. Let me just check. They are indiesupplements.com. I know Martha will pop a link on Facebook, but if anybody wants to go and have a look later. So this one, I kind of like their rainbow banding, because that actually tells you, presumably, that's the kind of the percentage or quantity of everything that's in there.
Yeah, so the band widths are the sort of amounts, and then the colours are associated with the colour of the actual food.
So this one is for the body, and these are things tell me if I've got this correct, but these are things that you can take alongside your regular diet or your regular vitamins, if you're taking a bit of magnesium or you're taking a bit of vitamin D or whatever, these are things that will help just generally. So they're kind of plugging the gaps that other things that we might be missing out potentially.
Yes, I think, yes, exactly. Indie is one of those, it's different because it's not trying to plug just one thing. It's not just trying to cover
you've got all these lovely
maybe
things.
Just one nutrient.
I'll show you these.
The whole foods that they have in there, the whole foods that they have in each formulation actually cover multiple things. And one of the most exciting things that every single one has is a huge amount of plant fibre. And the majority of us are not getting enough fibre.
No, that's true.
Really, really true. And the majority of us aren't getting enough fibre diversity. So there are people who perhaps get quite a lot of fibre, but it's all from the same plants every day. And we've now, research has shown that we should try and get 30 different types a week. And that fibre, having the right amount of fibre in your diet actually decreases your likelihood of death, likelihood of disease, all sorts of cancers. So many things that there's a big push now from academia to get that message across and say, listen, the number one thing you can do for your health is increase your fibre. And India is one of the highest fibre supplements that actually tastes nice. And
it does taste great.
I mean,
so the fibre that I'm getting here, this I can see here. So this has got gluten-free oats.
Yeah.
And it's got chicory root, the inulin, which is also that prebiotic fibre that our microbiome bacteria, our gut bugs, love it, don't they?
Love it.
You can almost see them kind of rubbing their little hands with glee in our guts there and setting out their knives and forks and getting ready for a good old nosh. And this one also has turmeric and black pepper. So, my guys here will know that I often make a smoothie with turmeric. And this is interesting. I want to talk to you about this Reishi Mushroom. Reishi Mushroom. Now, I got put onto Reishi Mushroom not that long ago because I get hay fever. And I was advised to take quercetin, which I have been taking, and Reishi Mushroom. And so I've been taking those two now for the last kind of 3 months. And I haven't had bad hay fever at all. And I haven't had any antihistamines. In fact, I've just kind of stopped the Reishi Mushroom because I've run out. I need to go and buy some more. But what is the Reishi Mushroom doing in here, and how much is in there?
So the formulation of the exact amounts of reishi is something that I would have to go back and ask the team.
But it just says reishi
we'll
powder.
Ask them if they, I'm not 100% sure the amount, but I know that all of the amounts that have been chosen are at least the minimum functional amounts.
Okay, so great. So I could have this, because I actually did have this. I wanted to try it, so I had it this morning. Thought it was delicious. And it's really filled me up, actually, because that's literally all I've had so far, a cup of coffee and some of this. I made it with just some whole milk. So I wouldn't need to take a reishi supplement then, you think? I could just have that?
Not if you're having that every day, to be honest. The great thing about mushrooms and reishi mushrooms in particular is that when you dry mushrooms or freeze mushrooms, they retain all of their nutrients. They're one of the only plants that are their cellulose is so thick and strong. They retain basically everything. Wow. So when you have the reishi powder, it's a really good anti-inflammatory agent. They have and mushrooms are one of the richest polyphenol-rich foods on the planet. So they have an entire chemistry lab inside of beneficial
I really want
compounds.
to explore mushrooms. There's just so many. I mean, it's just a massive subject, isn't it?
It's a huge subject, and now mushrooms are the ones that are now having a moment in research. So there's been some exciting research done with things like turkey tail mushroom for breast cancer. And
turkey tail mushroom. I've never heard of who's heard of turkey tail mushroom? Anybody else heard of turkey tail mushroom? Amazing.
So that is actually the one, you may have seen it. It kind of grows out of the side of trees, and it looks like a wiggly platform, and it's got lots of colours.
Oh, I've probably got some on my farm. Got to be careful though. Don't go and pick mushrooms and eat them.
No, let's not do that. Yeah.
No, I seriously. I have all sorts of mushrooms growing in the fields, and people say, "Oh, there's some lovely, delicious, wild mushrooms. You just go and pick them and eat them." And I say, "Absolutely not."
If you have porcini mushrooms, they're a powerhouse. They're worth picking if you have those. Yes, they're amazing. They honestly, if porcini are so expensive, unfortunately.
Yeah, they are. I love wild mushroom risotto. All of that in Italy, delicious.
Great to eat. Really good. So mushrooms are a powerhouse. There's some real hard clinical trials being done now.
So why does this powder contain reishi? So this is the body, indie body, and I can see, it's got the oats, it's got B vitamins, it's got the lovely berries, the Haskapa berry, blueberry, purple carrot.
Lots of anthocyanin.
Lots of what?
Anthocyanin.
Anthocyanin, of course, natural anthocyanin, brilliant in there, which is, again is another ingredient I love. Turmeric, this is vitamin D. I mean, what's not to love about this? This is great. But the reishi itself, why would you want to have or look at considering having a reishi supplement?
So a reishi is good for, the body is designed for sort of everyday use, for everyday life stressors, and we all have
a few of those
hectic lives, right?
A few of those at the moment.
A few of those. And reishi is a good one to just mitigate some of the low-level chronic stress causes inflammation over time. And the reishi is try and target helping us bring those inflammatory markers down a little bit.
Great, so good for stress.
Research is coming out to really show us how that works at the moment. Yeah. But we have all the evidence to believe that things like having reishi mushrooms daily would be really helpful for that. So it's a really nice ingredient to include, yeah.
Well, I mean, we put a piece online actually on EarleWellbeing.com, but that was much more to do with the connection with antihistamine and controlling that, helping to modulate that histamine response. With the quercetin and how that works. And I forget. I mean, it was all about the ACE2 inhibitors, and I mean. Anyway, but it was very interesting. So I was taking it as a supplement, as I say, for that reason. But I'm very interested now if I can get away with, just having one, really good powder and just adding that in, having that like as my brunch.
Yes, what's good, we must remember India isn't a meal replacement though. It's very low calories. It's high in fibre, which is why it may make you feel full, which is great. Yeah. But it's best to take it with a meal. And it's something to enhance your diet. So, Liz, I'm sure that you actually probably have a very good diet with lots of vegetables.
I try. Yeah. No, absolutely. I love my veg, and I have a lot of protein and good healthy fats and that kind of thing.
So I'm sure that something like Indie is a one-stop shop product that you can just add to enhance that already good diet.
And could I vary them? So this one is Indie Tone. So let's talk about, because this has got some other different ingredients. So this has got a lot of protein. So I imagine that this is really for people who want to tone up. Are we talking about, weight loss and shape and gym training, that kind of thing? Because most of this is pea protein and chickpea protein. I mean, that's taking up a lot. And then it's got some other interesting things here. Pomegranate, baobab, coconut water, the Haskapa berry again, which is great, black currant, Montmorency cherry, something else I'm hearing a lot about, and green tea. So what's the theory behind this formula?
So this formula is, as you said, aimed at people who are perhaps doing more weight training and exercising for typically about an hour or more a day. So sweating, the coconut water in there will help replenish the salts that you lose through sweat and the electrolytes. And then the I can never say it properly, Montmorency cherry. Yes. There's some really nice evidence showing that they really help with decreasing muscle soreness, even in marathon runners, so people who are really doing a lot of exercise. And it just improves the recovery process for the muscles. Yeah. But what's really nice about this formulation is the green tea catechins. So if you are looking to tone up, lose some body fat, green tea catechins taken straight after exercise have a proven effect on continuing... Oh, sorry, just...
That was a crucial bit. Have a proven effect on what?
Yeah, I know, right? What? On continuing that fat burning process that happens when you get to that level in exercise, yes.
Excellent. So after exercise, you've got to do the exercise.
You do, yes.
Okay, so that's the catch. You've got to do the exercise, and then you drink your green tea, or you have, your green tea supplement to continue that process. Isn't that fascinating?
So green tea is really great to have daily. If you do like it as a hot drink, go for it. If you're pregnant, just make sure you don't have too much. Okay. But the green tea catechins in tone mean that after your workout, in one supplement, you have the protein from a vegetable source, from a vegan protein, which is so important because actually there's a lot of evidence to show that things like whey protein and animal proteins after workout are not very good for us. Yeah, it's much better to have a plant protein. And then you have the coconut water to replace electrolytes. And you have the Haskapa berries, and the berries to reduce inflammation and to help with recovery, the montmorency cherries. And then you also have this green tea catechins, which are so important to continue that fat burning effect of your spin class or whatever you've just done.
So yeah, or your your lovely brisk walk, or whatever it is.
Yes.
So could you vary this? So could I? Because I've obviously been sent both very kindly to try. Could I have this one, one day after I've done my, workout in the morning, which I try and do like sort of 3 times a week, and then on the other days, go for my body one?
Yes, so they're designed to work together, so it's not an issue to have both in a day.
Okay.
They slightly different things. Some of the ingredients do overlap, of course, but there's no, because we're talking about whole plants, there's no risk of overdosing on plants, right? Your body will use what it needs, and the rest it won't. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So the way that it's been designed is there's the Mind, which is really nice as a coffee alternative.
Yes. Now tell me about this one, because this is the first one that I started with, actually, maybe because it was a slightly smaller tub. I thought it looked a bit more kind of easily to get my head around. So this is delicious. This is quite chocolatey. This has got cocoa in it, hasn't it? So if I just show you that.
It's cacao, so it's actually
cacao. Okay, different.
It's delicious. It's much higher. But the polyphenols in cacao often quite low when you buy chocolate, say from Lindt or other brands that are supermarket brands. Whereas in this, it's really high, so it's really good quality, and it's a lovely, lovely replacement for your morning coffee. I love coffee. I'm Italian.
So do I. Totally. Are you? Yeah. I was married to a half Italian, and we live on coffee. My family.
Yeah. So there you go. So. Coffee, but it's nice to have an alternative on those days where I'm doing a lot of writing, a lot of research, and I really need that extra boost. Indeed gives it, the Mind one gives you that boost, but without the slightly, how if you have too much coffee in a day, you can get a bit agitated.
Yeah, totally. I get jittery, absolutely.
Yeah, jittery is the word.
Fascinating.
So Mind gives you a little bit of a smoother.
So the ingredients in here, you're using, or Indy rather, are using a different mushroom. This is lion's mane mushroom. So what is the difference between that and reishi? Do they have are they really very different in the way they work?
They're different in the way that we think they have their largest impact. So as I said, evidence around mushrooms is really growing. Yeah. But it's sort of at that stage now where we're learning more and more every day. And the lion's mane is more associated with cognitive function. Okay. So they've actually done trials using lion's mane and seen how it impacts cognitive performance in adults. And it actually has a direct impact on cognitive tests. So
I need to give this to my middle boy. He's doing his A-levels at the moment.
Yes, so it would really help.
It would really help. Okay, Kit, if you're watching.
Good for concentration and just cognitive function overall. So really nice one for that reason.
And also it contains tyrosine.
Yes.
So that's an amino acid, is it?
It is amino acid.
And what's that doing in the brain? This is obviously called Indy Mind. So why is tyrosine in there?
So tyrosine is in there for a similar reason. It's to do with cognitive modulation, so the ability to switch between tasks and the ability to memory forming, things like that. So tyrosine is associated with overall good brain health, and just it's nice to have in there. Again, if you have enough tyrosine in your body, it won't use it, but in case you haven't, this will make sure that you have that, especially with increased sort of brain usage if you're revising for exams. Hugely.
Okay. And this also has other things. It has rhodiola, and something I've never heard of this. You're going to have to enlighten me. Bacopa monieri.
Yes.
What are these going? What is this that's going on in here?
They're both lovely plants. Actually, rhodiola's got lovely flowers, but they're both shown to reduce inflammation in our blood vessels. So they're really good to make sure that we have really nice blood flow to the brain. And it's one of these sort of active plants which, if you take it every day, the idea with Mind is that in the long term you're going to see some really good impacts as well. So we're looking at increasing your concentration right now and giving you the energy boost from the guarana, which has caffeine, but it's absorbed often a slightly different way to coffee, so it's a slightly less jittery energy.
Yeah, tell me about this, because there's been a bit of controversy, aren't there? Some people say, guarana, but that just gives you a buzz just like caffeine. Does it work differently from caffeine in coffee?
It is caffeine.
It is caffeine, okay.
Guarana contains caffeine, but it's just the way that the caffeine is bound in the guarana, basically, is slightly different to the coffee. Okay. So it releases more steadily, so it's you get less of a spike in the caffeine as you do with coffee. So it's a bit of a smoother energy high.
So this is something that you could have every day instead of your morning coffee. You would just have this to replace that.
I often, as you know now, Liz, I've got young kids, so in the morning I often need, and then the afternoon, when I've got to go for my afternoon of writing, I will have a mind. But it's up to you how you take it. A lot of people like to have, and it's also nice just to. I don't necessarily take it every day. It's just nice to have there as an alternative.
Nice to have, absolutely. And questions here. Obviously, people taking various vitamins and supplements and things, but this doesn't replace that. This is just another useful adjunct, so you wouldn't need to worry about overdoing it.
Yes, I think, as I said, my approach is really to try and get what we can from our diets. It's really important to try and improve our overall diet quality. That's the most beneficial thing we can do. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't have a clinical deficiency, so if you know that you don't have something specific missing, so if you're anemic, for instance, of course you will need to get iron supplementation, but if you don't have that and you're someone who's generally healthy, you try your best with your diet, but you want to make sure that you're boosting that and enhancing that with added fibers from plants that we wouldn't normally have access to, such as baobab. I mean, people don't have access to that here. They do intend to make delicious porridge, but not here. So this is an enhancer. I personally think that it would be best if people could have a really rich, varied diet that they keep most of their nutrients from. And then something like Indie, even choosing the body or the mind, whatever works best for you and your lifestyle, having that as policies on the days that perhaps you're really busy and you want to make sure that you're getting, an enhancer. It's more of a dietary enhancer than a supplement, in my view. Yeah. And I think it's best to try and reduce the individual nutrient supplements we're taking. Taking supplements for just zinc, just magnesium, just one thing. It doesn't reflect what you would get from a good diet. We need to have more overall view, I think, and Indie does that, bring multiple active compounds in one product. Yeah. So do I take anything else other than Indie? No. Do I take Indie every day? No. But I have Indie, and I take it on those days where I feel like I need to enhance my diet for that day, and I haven't got it, or if I'm feeling a bit run down or whatever. Yeah. If I need that afternoon boost to do some more work, I have the mind. Yeah. And same for any of my clients. Like I try and move away from individual supplementation. It's the same as saying individual foods. There's no magic foods, right? Yeah. We're supposed lots of variety, and so it's that similar approach to this. Yeah. Kind of that's.
I mean, having said that, there are certain things. Well, I mean, certainly having done the genetic testing, there are certain things that I personally take, individually, and I do take vitamin D and make sure that all my family take extra vitamin D. I also take magnesium, particularly at night. I also take B vitamins, to help with stress, the B complex, B12, and what else do I take? Yeah, I mean, so for example, I have been taking the quercetin and the reishi mushrooms recently, but that's been kind of for a hay fever, antihistamine kind of thing. And yeah, those are my kind of key ones, really. Those are my key ones.
It's very personal, as you said. You know what you need.
Yeah, and also you respond. You take something for a while and you try it. I also like iodine, by the way, because I feel that I'm not getting very much iodine in my diet.
The nutrients, it's funny. A lot of people don't realise that they're maybe not getting enough, and in the UK don't add iodine to salt or to flour, which a lot of other countries do. And so it can be quite easy to slip into iodine sort of deficiency, especially if you're vegan or don't consume dairy or things like that. So important
And I think you try these things. I think, you know, you have to listen to your body and you try them and you see, you know, how well you are on it. You know, certainly, you know, my daughters, both of them actually, you know, take very specific things and feel very much better.
Yeah.
You know, when I see my ex and he says, oh, I didn't sleep very well last night, I'd say, well, did you take some magnesium? He said, oh, no, I forgot. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, well, there you go. You know, you've kind of, you know, you've got the answer there. So we have to be guided, don't we, by how we feel and how we respond to things. I think the only thing is to look at things that are backed by science, that have been made with integrity, and try it. And if it works for you, great.
And you're so
and
right,
glutathione, yes, absolutely. I was just having a comment there. Yeah, I also, you know, genetically block glutathione, which I didn't realise, and that now I actually do take that pre-formed as glutathione, and I have so much more energy, you know, from that.
That's really, it's really good, and it's exactly as you say, listening to your own body, knowing what works for you. Often it's, you know, we're sort of told to do things and we just do them, and then we don't listen to what they do to us. Listening to your own body, seeing how you feel, making note of things that work, things that don't, and then sort of knowing what works best for you is so important, and it really helps to listen to that and to then take care of yourself, knowing what works for you and what things you need and what foods agree with you. So that's a really important message, and I'm glad that you're so open about that. That's really, really positive. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Honestly, it's fascinating to chat with you, Federica. Maybe we can pick this up again, because I feel there's so much, you know, we could have taken any one of those individual things and just gone on a really deep dive journey, couldn't we, into the science?
We hardly touched on the microbiome, which was one of the topics.
Oh my goodness, don't we love a good microbiome chat?
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave you to get back to your small people, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of half term and manage to get a little bit of peace. I'm sure that you'll be reaching for your cup of mind this afternoon. I think I might too.
Yes. Exactly that, you're so right. All right, well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed. I think you have to leave me, because otherwise I might cut everybody off. Thank you. See you again, I hope. Bye. Bye. Yeah, Michelle, definite podcast guest. Wasn't that just so interesting? You know, I love being able to connect with these researchers who make this kind of thing their life's work. You know, that is what they do, day in, day out, reading the journals, doing the science, being in the lab, you know, writing the papers. Just fantastic. So just to recap, because I know some of you joined late, yeah, so you missed it. So this was Indie, which is a brand that was started by a girl I used to work with years ago, who just contacted me and said, look, I thought you'd quite like to see what I'm doing now. And I said, yeah, send me some, I'll have a look. So this was the Indie Mind. So this is the one that I tried, and it's got cacao and berries, the Haskapa Berry. It's got a little scoop in there. So that's the one that you can have when you need a bit of brain function. So that is going back to be given to Kit for his A-levels. Then we've got here Indie Tone, which I haven't tried yet, to be honest. That is the one that's very high in protein. And that has the Montmorency cherry, the green tea that Federica was talking about as being really good to keep that kind of fat burning going after working out, and coconut water, which is obviously replenishing electrolytes and all of that. And then this one, which I had this morning, which I really enjoyed, it's called Indie Body. And this is the one that has lots of fibre, so lots of prebiotic fibre. It has gluten-free oats, biocultures, chicory root, which is prebiotic inulin. This is the one with turmeric, with maca, with the reishi mushroom. So I'm going to be having this instead of buying a reishi mushroom supplement. I'm going to have this instead. And of course the berries, the Haskapa, the purple carrot, the acai berry, or however you say it, blueberries, you know, in there. So that's the little purpley bits. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so I think you can mix it with water, water or whatever. I mix mine with milk. I just used whole milk because I like my whole milk. So yeah, I think you can mix it with whatever you fancy, really. So you could, you know, if you like almond milk or whatever, you could mix it with that. Yeah, it just says, you know, whenever, mix it with whatever you like. So yeah, we do have a discount. So it's affiliate code, it's Liz Loves, all in capitals, and that gives you 10% off everything on Indie. So if you buy it and try it, let me know. I'd love to get some feedback to see what is going on here. Just to say, if we're talking about exercise, have I got my exercise? I must have left it upstairs, I think. But just to say that Julie, lovely Julie, who does our in-step classes for Earle Wellbeing for the community on a Saturday morning, she does now have her in-step back in stock. So lovely to see everybody. Who did the class this last week or two when I was in it? Really enjoyed it. And there are now 2 classes because she's got the beginners group that starts at 9:30. So if you're brand new and you've just bought your lovely bands, that's the one that you would start with at 9:30. And then the more advanced group, the guys and girls who've been doing it for the last, whatever it is now, 2 or 3 months, that class starts at 10 o'clock. And if you want, you can do both, because you can do the beginners class as a kind of warm-up and then stay. But it was good, wasn't it, on Saturday? It was really nice to see people, so really, really enjoyed that. So yes, so that, again, we've got the affiliate code on that. So that is Liz Loves, all in capitals, and that gives you 11% off on InStep. Just to say, again, talking about and being asked questions here on exercise. So this, if you are interested, is... Oh, it's got a bit damp, actually. That's my e-guide, A Stronger, Slimmer You. So I've just printed this one out, but this is obviously, it's got lots of different exercises and things that you can do without any equipment, stuff that you can do at home, which is just really so incredibly helpful. And I did this a year or so ago with Michael Gary, so the amazing, just brilliant, award-winning personal trainer who advises us here at Earle Wellbeing on so many things. So lots of information in here. There's also quite a bit of information here about high-fat, low-carb eating. So if you're interested, perhaps experimenting with keto or just generally switching away from the sugars, as we heard, was it this time last week, with the consultant cardiologist, Dr. Asim Malhotra. That was fascinating, wasn't it, talking about cholesterol and all the things, all the misinformation that we've been given about that too. So if you haven't already heard that, it is still up on Facebook and on YouTube, and of course on Instagram from last Wednesday. Do mushrooms contain vitamin D, asks Beth on Instagram. They do if they've been grown in sunshine. So mushrooms are a bit like our own skin in that they synthesize vitamin D from UV rays. So actually, if you have mushrooms at home, even if you just bought some, from the shops, put them on a sunny windowsill, preferably an open one, because I'm not sure how much the glass... Actually, no, I think glass, you get UV through glass, don't you? It's just things like car windscreens that block UV. But yeah, if you put it on a sunny windowsill and get the UV light on mushrooms, they will absorb vitamin D. So literally, even just for an hour or so before you cook with them, that's how you can get more vitamin D in your mushrooms. So yes, I mean, obviously if mushrooms have been grown in the dark with no access to UV light, then they're not going to have very much vitamin D necessarily, but so it depends where they've been grown. So where are we? Oh, lots of people liking Dr. Malhotra. Zinc supplements, yeah, let's do zinc. Let's talk about zinc in one of these. And the Amino Slim Strong Nutrients. I think it's good. I think Amino Slim works. Go and have a look at their website. That's Strong Nutrients. Let me see if I can find you the website address. strongnutrients.com. And again, there's also the affiliate code for that. Liz Loves 15%. And in fact, I had some more. Zana sent me some more Amino Slim recently, and she's done a little fact sheet that goes with it because it's very particular how you take Amino Slim. But I think it's good. So, genuinely, she doesn't pay me to say that. I genuinely do think it's good, and it's something that I do take. But I tend to take it before exercise. That's how I take mine. Anyway, lots and lots of information on the website. Gosh, it's been going for an hour now, so I'm so sorry. We're going to have to call it a day here now. But lots more on lizarwellbeing.com, so please head there. Now, tomorrow, news. It's a bit of an odd week this week, I think, because it's been a bank holiday and I've got kids at home and, family stuff going on. So I'm not going to be doing a live on Friday, okay? So please take that out of your diaries. Not on Fridays, but to make up for it, I'm going to do an extra one tomorrow, okay? So no Friday, Instagram or Facebook or YouTube Live, but it's going to be tomorrow. Same time, same place, 12:30, talking about brain fats and brain health in particular. So another slightly kind of nutritional one, but I think it will be really interesting, slightly different emphasis And again, talking about healthy fats as well. So I think we'll continue that kind of conversation, shall we? Because I think there's so much chat going on about it. Anyway, I shall love you and leave you. Do please head over to the website if you'd like to see more or hear more. Lots going on YouTube as well. Make sure that you're signed up to the Earle Wellbeing YouTube channel. Some really good recipes that have just gone live on there as well. So I hope you enjoy those. And yeah, I will see you on, thanks Rosie, thank you, lovely to see you, thanks for your kind comment. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Okay, have a great day. Bye for now. Bye bye.